end without talking about the beloved community, that which was Dr. King's dream. So I'm going to start off with a quote by Thich Nhat Hanh. If you look deeply into the palm of your hand, you will see your parents and all generations of your ancestors. All of them are alive in this moment. Each is present in your body. You are the continuation of each of these people. If you can feel that, if you look deeply into the palm of your hand, we are here gathered together. We called in all of those people to support us, including our ancestor, Dr. Martin Luther King. And what we know is we heard so much. We learned a lot about Dr. King this weekend. How he stood on his line, how he had this dream, how he had his doubts, how all of the steps that he took courage. But he didn't accomplish all of this by himself. There's no way he could have done all these feats by himself. He had to call on his beloved community. And one of the things he said is, our goal is to create a beloved community, and that will require qualitative change in our souls, as well as quantitative change in our lives. He put a measure on this. How do we measure what we need to do? So I'm going to look a little bit now about how do we begin to look at creating from this moment on. We're not talking about tomorrow. We're not talking about what we did yesterday. We're talking about right now. How do we create this beloved community that was his dream and particularly can be ours? And I just want to say, as I said in the very beginning, let's not overlook our ancestors. Let's hold them in reverence. Let's know how they walked ahead of us, what they offered us. Because the stage has already been set for us to create this community. The seeds have been planted. We already know that. And if you have a watering pitcher, then it's our responsibility to start watering these seeds of community. The possibility, Konda just said that, the possibility of a beloved community is here. It's even now, it's beyond the dream. It is possible. And one thing that for me is so important, and it ties in so perfectly to the beloved community, is the third jewel that the Buddha laid out for us. It's the Sangha. It's how we gather together here, all of us. At EBMC, well, first of all, the Buddha said there are three jewels. The Buddha, taking refuge in the Buddha. The Dharma, the truth, taking refuge in the truth. And the Sangha, taking refuge in a community that is akin to each other and has in lockstep. At East Bay Meditation Center, they have actually put the Sangha in front of all the other jewels because they really believe that we have to, this is where the seeds are going to be springing up. It's from all of us. Thich Nhat Hanh famously said that the next Buddha will be the Sangha. I believe him. I absolutely believe him. Because I see it here in your faces. All of you. You're ready. It's time. This jewel, this refuge, we can actually lean in You know how that leaning in, when you go to lean on somebody, they got your back? We can do that with the Sangha. We can begin to open up our hearts for trust and faith in the Sangha. Doesn't mean there's not going to be disagreements, but as we start creating this beloved community, we have a better opportunity. I remember my partner once said to me early on in our relationship, preparation plus opportunity equals miracles. We have the opportunity to walk with this magic that we create. This is medicine that we're doing. And we can awaken together. This solo journey that we believe that we're on is just a myth. That same poem I mentioned earlier in one of my talks about from the Hopi elders, one of the lines in it says, "The time of the lone wolf is over." This is waking up time. We so much we hear these words, wake up, I'm awake. But how awake are we? Let's go in here, folks. Let's go to the heart of it. A waking up is knowing that we have a community that we can trust and lean into. So I have a posse. You know, I have my people. You have everybody got you got your people. I have a group of people that I know I can lean on. They're called my Dharma wives. And there are 4 of us who completed a program and several programs together. And then their partners. So we call each other the Dharma wives. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, they're my posse. I can look back here. I can't even see behind. My son used to say I had eyes in the back of my head. I can see behind me and know that they have my back. That's community building. That's who's holding us right now, this Sangha. And I want to kind of dovetail back to Martin Luther King because he had his posse too, right? He could not have done all of this alone. First of all, let's start with his parents and his family. He had that. He had his church. He had his community. He had his educational institutions. But he also had Reverend Dr. Ralph David Abernathy. I mean, that was his partner. You know, they started SCLC together, Southern Christian Leadership Conference. He was by his side when he was assassinated. He had Jesse Jackson, A. Philip Randolph, Whitney Young. He had James Farmer, Roy Wilkins, John Lewis, Bayard Rustin, his posse. He also had his wife, Coretta Scott King, Rosa Parks, Dorothy Height, Fannie Lou Hamer, Satima Clark, his posse. He had his girls behind him, you know. And you know what we can do when we put everyone behind us. In 1963 in Birmingham, he had 1,000 protesters beside him. In 1963 in Birmingham, he had countless children beside him. In 1965, he had over 600 people walking across the Edmund Pettus Bridge from Selma to Montgomery beside him. In 1955, in the Montgomery boycott, he had a whole Black community beside him. In 1963, the March on Washington, there's an estimated 200 to 300,000 people who attended beside him. He had a nation that was galvanized. Not everybody mobilized, but there were committed people who believed in liberation and freedom and rights of the human condition, and these people were beside him. This is the community. He popularized that word beloved community, his dream. He envisioned a beloved community that was just and fair and equal. But he also dreamed of a community that had heart and love. So this is the quote, and I call it his recipe. Right? This was his recipe for for a beloved community. A global vision in which all people can share in the wealth of the earth. Mm. The beloved community, poverty, hunger, and homelessness will not be tolerated because international standards of human decency will not allow it. Racism and all forms of discrimination, bigotry, and prejudice will be replaced by an all-inclusive spirit of sisterhood and brotherhood. This no longer needs to be just a dream. We here in this room can start manifesting it to reality. And I'm a cook. I consider myself a pretty good cook. So I know what it takes to bring in this recipe, to put the ingredients in so that, you know, when I'm offering up food, it's delicious, but it's also nutritional. And I got a lot of when I cook. When people eat my food, they're, that's good. We can do this. And if you think that you're walking alone, let me you see me shaking my head? No, you're not walking alone. We're in this together. We are in this together. The Sangha, the community, we're growing. We're learning how to be together even when there's tension. Because I know that Brother Malcolm and Brother Martin and Brother Ralph, all of those who were on the front lines during the time of deep, deep civil rights, marching, didn't do it alone. So here's part of my recipe for creating this beloved community. You ready? It takes courage to get off your good intentions, creating this beloved community. It takes Sangha. Maybe it's the BIPOC Sanghas that you all have been visiting in this time of COVID. Maybe it's through EBMC or through other places where you can feel a sense of comfort and safety, or at least safe enough. It takes actively participate in service programs. Joanne talked about working in the prisons, being of service. Today, MLK's birthday, this particular day is a day of service. But you're doing a service from an altruistic point of view to benefit others. Here's another part of the ingredients. You make a commitment to enrich the future generations while still honoring those who came before you. Konda gave us this beautiful talk this weekend about mentoring. Not necessarily about who's mentoring you, but who are you mentoring? Those subtleties, right? Could it be your neighbor who needed some help or continuously needs an ear? It could be your grandson. It could be your children and your friends. And that's reciprocal. You mentor, you get mentored. You receive. There's a receptivity that happens. Another part of the ingredients for our beloved community to develop it is to work for peace and justice in the ways that you can in your community and other foundations. And I'm going to lay something out here for you. And Reverend William Barber, he has picked up the mantle of the Poor People's Campaign from Dr. King. Google him, find him. He is speaking truth to power when he's talking about how many poor people there are in this United States and how much money is not allocated to them. William Barber, Poor People's Campaign, fierce. Create your values and social principles, things that you can align and share with your community. Sorry, little beep coming in. Another part of the ingredient, right? And even if somebody doesn't believe you or is aligned with you, that's okay. Keep talking, keep walking, keep marching, keep standing firm, keep gathering more people. Your arms are wide enough to gather your community together. And lastly, don't look outside yourself for the leader. If you doubt that you have the power to lead, try it on. The Buddha said all the Buddhist cosmology, famously he said, you don't have to believe it. Try it for yourself. Try this path to liberation and freedom. See how those pairs of shoes work for you, or that new cloak you put on. Try it on for yourself. You are the leader. If Dr. King was alive today, what would you think he would think about our nation? Whew, child. Shaking his head, proud, worried, doubtful. Could be all of that. That our economic systems haven't moved the needle, or that today I have more opportunities than he had in 1950. That more people of color, BIPOC individuals are at least going into graduating, first of all, from high school, but also getting education. There's so many things that we could say didn't happen, that, oh, we're still the same, but we're not. Dr. King had a dream. It's being realized through every single one of you. And one of the things I always say is, if not now, then when? When are you going to pick up the mantle? When are you going to open your arms and create your community? When are you actually going to talk about the things that matter to you? To your neighbor, to your community, to your people, to your posse. Dr. King said, as I watched the people walk, I had a feeling that no force on earth can stop this movement. It has all the elements to touch the hearts of man. We have the heart to do this. We can create this beloved community right here, this moment, today. We've got the ingredients, right? Start cooking up the meal, making it real for yourself, making it real for us, because I'm actually wanting to be part of your community. I can't do this alone. None of us can. Come with me. Come on. Come on with me. So happy birthday, Dr. King. 92 years old. Happy birthday, Dr. King. Thank you, Dr. King. Thank you for showing us what we can be. Thank you for allowing us to see that we can measure our strength and our humanness by just how big our hearts can get. Thank you, Sangha. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Noli.